Hi, I'm Supervisor Don Knabe, and I'm pleased to welcome you back to another episode of Dialed In. You may notice that our set looks different today. We are on the road again, this time at Rancho Los Amigos National Rehabilitation Center in the city of Downey. As many of you know, Rancho is very near and dear to my heart. It is truly one of Los Angeles County's hospital of miracles. It continues to be each and every year one of the top rehabilitation hospitals in the entire country. The hospital uses cutting-edge technology, the latest advancement in treatments to help patients living with physical disabilities and injuries. The doctors and nurses who work here at Rancho are true angels, and they change the lives of patients each and every day. So I'm really excited to take you around the campus at Rancho, introduce you to some of the staff, and also introduce you to one of Rancho's most famous artists. I hope you'll enjoy the show.
When Connie Andrews got married, her maid of honor, Caitlin, made some unauthorized alterations to her dress. And Connie realized Caitlin was not her friend. When Connie got Satellite, she joined the millions who don't get true on-demand. And she realized Satellite was not her friend. Now Connie has Charter, with over 10,000 titles, many free. It's the on-demand she always wanted. Take it from Connie. Satellite is not your friend. Watch over 10,000 titles on demand with Charter.
Welcome back to Dial In. My first guest today is Rancho Los Amigos Chief Executive Officer Jorge Orozco. Jorge was appointed CEO of Rancho in 2008. He began his career at Rancho as a physical therapist in 1989 before becoming Chief of Rehabilitation Therapy in 2001. Thanks for joining me today, Jorge.
Really my pleasure.
So Jorge, let's, this show is really about Los Angeles County, and we are here at Rancho, one of the true centers of excellence, but not everyone knows about Rancho. So maybe you could sort of give us an idea how long it's been in Downey, how many doctors and nurses work here, what kind of issues are treated here.
Sure. So Rancho is an internationally renowned rehabilitation hospital. We see some of the most complex injuries, life-changing injuries, and we provide state-of-the-art rehabilitation to get them back home.
What kind of injuries, like gunshots?
Most of the injuries are neurologic injuries, so injuries to the brain, strokes, spinal cord injuries, injuries as a result of car accidents, skiing accidents, etc.
So what kinds of those issues inside of that area, what kind of ailments and disabilities are really treated here?
Yeah, so many of the patients that we see have some sort of paralysis. Some have to use a wheelchair for the rest of their lives. Others are now learning to walk with one side of their body paralyzed. And with that comes a lot of challenges, life challenges. How do I get back home? How do I get back to my job? How do I get back to my family? And Rancho really is a place that maximizes the potential of everyone who comes here so that they can return back to their lives.
So the first stability piece of all this is the physical part.
Yes.
But there's a lot more to it here at Rancho than what they do, right? The
Yes.
mental health piece and dealing with the issue of, I can't stand up anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's life-changing for not only the patients, but their families and their loved ones. And the emotional rehabilitation is also something that we see as very important. And we certainly offer those kinds of behavioral health, mental health support systems. We help people get back to work, get back to school. Those are the things that are most important for individuals after an injury.
And we do a lot of other things here. As an example, how important is it, say, the arts and sports activities for the rehabilitation piece?
So sports is absolutely critical for us. Sports and leisure activities are things that we all value in our own lives. And after an injury, individuals also value that. So we have a wheelchair sports program that allows kids and young adults to get back into competitive sports. We do wheelchair basketball, we do wheelchair football, soccer, rugby, tennis. We also have an outdoor adventures program where we take patients surfing for the first time, or rock climbing, or sailing, or biking. These are activities that are important to people's lives, and Rancho certainly supports that.
And it's a sense of freedom, I think, for them as much as anything, in addition to be able to get back in that piece of their life that they thought they'd never see again. I would believe. I know the deal that we do over at Dockweiler Beach and taking the patients out there and putting them in the water, knowing full well that they can't feel the water on the lower part of their body, but they feel independence. I mean, there's a look on their face that is just absolutely cherished.
It's life-changing. You know, imagine yourself in a hospital for 3 or 4 months and really feeling down about life, and then being able to get out into the ocean, surf again, and
ride a horse.
Ride a horse, and you've certainly been very supportive of making that happen for our patients. It's life-changing. It opens up the possibilities of the future for individuals.
So art is a very big piece of this. We're going to be talking to Robert later on, but maybe you can give us some idea of the kinds of things that the art programs that are offered here for the patients as well too.
Art is a form of expression, and we are very fortunate as a hospital to have support from yourself for the Don Knabe Pediatric Arts Program, but also for our adult patients to use art as a vehicle of expression after an injury. And it's also been a very life-changing activity for our patients. They can come here, learn how to paint, learn how to do photography, and be mentored by individuals who have had a life-changing injury, and be shown how to paint with a mouth stick, be shown how to paint and express themselves through art. So art is absolutely a critical part of what we do.
And it's an amazing piece of that rehabilitation process. It's one thing for you and I to tell a patient, you can do this, but when another patient's sitting across from them in a wheelchair, it has a lot greater impact. By the way, legislation was signed last year for Rancho to get involved in a very big program for all of us, and that's our veterans, the men and women in our armed forces who have these either brain injuries, traumatic kinds of injuries. So what is Rancho going to be doing to offer to our nation's veterans?
So Rancho has been working to offer our services to our veterans. And I know you've been very instrumental in opening the doors of Rancho Los Amigos, which is the top rehabilitation center in California, to our veterans. And our veterans deserve the best. Since this legislation has passed, we have served over 150 veterans here at Rancho. We are working with the Veterans Administration to offer services that they may not have available for their veterans, and to
cut down those wait lists too, right?
Exactly.
So as we sort of wind down here, there's a big exciting thing happening. It's called Rancho Rising 2020. Maybe you can tell us all these holes that are around here and these buildings and things coming up out of the ground. What's going on?
This is the most amazing project that has happened to Rancho in a very, very, very long time. Rancho Los Amigos is spread out over 42 acres currently, in very old, outdated buildings. And our buildings and our facilities do not reflect the world-class expertise that our clinicians have. And Rancho 2020 represents a rebuilding of our hospital grounds. We're going to construct a wellness and aquatic center, which will be state-of-the-art for our patients. A brand new outpatient building, a brand new ICU, radiology suites, operating rooms. So now, finally, our facilities will match the tremendous dedication and expertise that our doctors and nurses and therapists offer to our patients on a daily basis.
Miracle workers out here each and every day. Just a little factoid at the end here. How many inpatient and outpatient visits do you do a year?
So we see over 3,000 inpatient admissions here a year, and we have 80,000 outpatient visits a year.
80,000 outpatients. So is the capacity going to be increased then by the new facilities, is that correct?
The new facilities will make us much more efficient, and we will be able to offer more outpatient services, which is really the direction healthcare is headed. And so we're very excited about that.
Rancho Rising 2020. We're
Rancho
excited
Rising.
about it.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me today. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Supervisor.
Thank you. Thank you.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
Welcome back to Dialed In. My next guest is Dr. Mindy Azen, who has served as Rancho's Chief Medical Officer since 2009. Dr. Azen has conducted extensive studies in the field of neurology and neurological rehabilitation. She's published several peer-reviewed journal publications on spinal cord injuries. An incredible lady, and I want to welcome you, and thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much.
So Dr. Azen, you have had an incredible, interesting background in medicine. I'd like, maybe you could tell us how you first became interested in rehabilitation and how your journey brought you here to Rancho.
Might be delighted to do that. So as an undergraduate, I went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the school that those
I was never accepted there.
well, those who can't get in there go to Caltech, so that might resonate with the California audience.
Love it.
And I at first was going to study economics, but I got interested in mechanical engineering because of a summer project designing toys for children with disabilities at Kennedy Memorial Hospital in Brighton, Massachusetts. And I enjoyed working with the children. I actually made a toy that was manufactured for a brief period of time, and I was hooked on the rehabilitation field. So I graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering, then went on to study at Columbia Medical School, decided to study neurology instead of rehabilitation medicine because I was particularly interested in the brain and the spinal cord and rehabilitation of the nervous system. And then when I finished my neurology residency, I went to work at Burke Rehabilitation Hospital in New York, which is affiliated with Cornell and which rapidly became affiliated with MIT because I wanted to bring some of that engineering practice into the clinical arena. And then we began actually experimenting with machines that could help us deliver more and more intensive and more accurate therapy. And I did that for 12 years. Then I went to the Department of Veterans Affairs where I ran rehab research for 7 years. I worked also at United Cerebral Palsy Research and Education Foundation because I'm particularly interested in developmental disorders, and we're working with children with cerebral palsy and hemispherectomy at Rancho now. And then I came out to California because what an opportunity to work at Rancho, the oldest, largest, probably the most famous rehabilitation hospital in the world. And I've loved it here, and I've worked to bring a lot of the ideas that I've tried to embrace throughout my career to Rancho.
Spectacular. So you're now the Chief Medical Officer, and we don't need to go through all that because of your background. We're going to talk about some of the specific things, but what advancements in medicine and rehabilitation have been pioneered here at Rancho? I mean, not only since you've been here, but prior to.
Right. So Rancho is famous for its orthopedic surgery. Most people my age who are orthopedic surgeons, regardless of where they practice in the entire United States, did a rotation at Rancho. That's in part because of people like Vern Nickel and the late Jackie Perry. They've both passed on, but Rancho pioneered the Halo device. Because of these orthopedic surgeons, people with polio were able to get out of the iron lung and breathe. Then Rancho had a very great career in hepatology and other kinds of rehabilitation. And I think since I've been here, neurologic rehabilitation has been more of an emphasis, not necessarily because of me, but because neurological advances converge with advances in rehabilitation.
So how has technology really changed the way we deliver rehabilitative services here at Rancho and other
Yeah. So for one thing, even when I was studying neurology, and that wasn't that long ago, people really thought that the brain couldn't recover, that diagnosis was destiny, and that rehab was all about keeping people comfortable and keeping them healthy, but learning to live with the situation. And robots had a lot to do with pushing forward this notion of task-specific practice. That is, practice makes perfect. A musician gets better and better with practice. An athlete gets better and better with practice. So the damaged brain or nervous system can also get better and better with practice. The key is, how do we deliver that practice in a way that is interactive and it really motivates people? And robots turn out to be a very important part of that. So robots turned out to be an important way for us to be able to deliver that kind of intensive therapy and to prove to the whole world that intensive therapy actually makes a difference.
So we're in a special area right here at Rancho. What is this room here all about?
Now, this is one of our robotic rehabilitation rooms. We study the impact of robotics and we deliver care to people with neurological impairments of all sorts. We're sitting next to a locomat, which is for people who have paralysis or partial paralysis in their legs. It's body weight supported. The robot moves their legs through a walking motion. It's interactive, and that's the point. As they move, the robot helps them less. We also have upper extremity robots in this complex. Those were designed actually at MIT and are not that different from the ones I was involved with many years ago. We have others that didn't exist years ago for the ankle, for the hands, and we even in another room have a robot that's being commandeered, being directed by a paralyzed man whose brain is actually controlling the robot.
That's an amazing process. It's amazing. So now that Rancho, through your efforts and others, now we're able to work with veterans, how can this technology help them recover from the injuries sustained during the war?
Well, certainly the robotics can help add all of our task-specific practice kinds of approaches, help with brain injury, spinal injury, stroke, and other conditions. The other new technology that we're studying right now is neuromodulation. That's transcranial magnetic stimulation for post-traumatic stress disorder, for autism, and to enhance the impact of task-specific practice. So now we're looking at combining treatments and new technologies. So it's every few months we have a new protocol and we're trying something new and trying to combine robotics with new medication, with brain stimulation.
So we have to wrap things up here, but what is the future, do you think the future of rehab, here at Rancho really look like? I mean, what are some of the things? I mean, because it's so fast changing, the pace is so quick.
Well, I think the neuromodulation is very, very promising for all of the conditions we treat, but we need to study it. I think there will be better and better and smaller and less expensive robots that will be able to be used throughout the hospital to augment what our therapists do. I also know, everyone knows, that we have to move more to an outpatient than an inpatient plan for people. And we also have to make sure that people, when they're out of the hospital, are healthy, they're not falling, they're continuing to move the side that may be weaker. So I think there's going to be opportunity for sensors that can feed back to us and alert us when people need help or need more rehabilitation.
Wow, that's amazing. Dr. Mindy Asen, Chief Medical Officer here at Rancho Rising 2020, that's going to bring it out of the ground to allow us more outpatient visits here. We really appreciate your time and expertise in what you do for the patients each and every day here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
'Cause nothing ever gonna make this world better if we don't start believing that love really, really, really is the answer. Everybody join hands 'cause it's time now. Spread the love all over the world. Spread it all over the world.
Welcome back to Dial In. We are now in the Resource Center here at Rancho, and I'm joined by my good friend and next guest, Robert Thome. Robert is a former patient at Rancho and is a world-renowned mouth painter. He's also an instructor, an incredible instructor in our Rancho Pediatric Art Program, and he travels the world with his works of art. He and his wife, Kathy, are longtime friends of Julie and I, and I'm happy to have him on the show. Thanks for joining me, Robert.
Anytime, Don.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you wind up in the wheelchair?
Well, back in '69, I was playing high school football, and I was on defense and made a tackle incorrectly, and broke 2 vertebrae in my neck, C4 and C5. They rushed me to Whittier emergency, and I spent 2 weeks there. Once they stabilized me, then they shipped me off to Rancho. Said that this place was more attuned to my injury.
So that's how you got to Rancho, through the football injury, and
Right.
they stabilized you at Whittier, and then brought you here.
Right.
Sad about the accident, but we're fortunate to have you here. So have you always been involved in art? Has that always been one of your passions, or, you know, pre-accident, post, or was it an option that came out of the rehabilitation process here at Rancho?
No, it's always been a passion. My first exhibition was when I was 5 years old. They took one of my paintings and put it in the hallway of the school in Latona in LA, and my mother was so proud that she just stood there and saying, "My son did this, my son did this," and she kept that until the day she died.
Wow. So you actually started way back when, so at that time. So then obviously with this life-changing accident, that art sort of went to the side and you became a mouth painter. How did you become that? I mean, was that...
Yeah, I thought it was all over once I... see, my original plan was to get some kind of athletic scholarship and go to a college and just take commercial art and be a commercial artist. But then this injury came up, and then I thought it all went down the drain. But once I got here, they showed me that there were other people that did artwork with a pen in their mouth. There was one artist that was really inspiring named Mark Hicks. He was a patient here, and Johnny Erickson was also a patient here.
How old were you in the accident? Were you a senior in high school, junior?
15, I was a sophomore.
Sophomore.
Yeah.
So those were your mentors, and so how, I mean, that first experience of mouth painting, I mean, how was that? I mean...
Well, it took me 2 weeks to learn how to write my name. And it took me about 2 years to learn how to do a decent portrait. You know, I'm sitting around anyway, and I'm not doing much. So I had nothing but time. So I just kept working on it. And
you had the love for art and painting to begin with. So
exactly.
That probably helped as well. So
yeah.
Obviously you're world renowned. You've traveled with your show in many different places, you and Kathy. Tell us some of the places you've been.
Oh, been to Shanghai, China, and been to Lisbon, Portugal, been to Vienna, been to Mexico City, and have exhibitions with my work all over the world, and I'm not even there. So the company I work for is the International Mouth and Foot Painters, and they publish my work and put exhibitions year round. And
so you don't even have to be there.
No.
So now you've come back, obviously world renowned. You still the joy of art and teaching. You are one of our mentors and creators of the pediatric arts program. What do you enjoy about that the most? I mean, I've been to those classes where you and Steve and others, you know, mentor these young people, and I'm always amazed from the first lesson with the frowns on their face and the pain in their hearts to what happens at the end.
Well, you know, it's amazing to, I guess, like with any teacher, to see the light go on. You know, they just connect. You know, when a math teacher we'll try to explain a formula, and you see that kid get it, you know, and these kids, and some of them are in their 20s, are just natural swimmers. They just you know, do things that are so phenomenal.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you bring it out of them. I think, you know, as I tell people, it's one thing for somebody like myself or the CEO, Jorge, to tell a patient in a wheelchair, you know, you can do this, you can do that. It's another to have someone like yourself who has lived through this and continues to be creative and productive, for you to be able to share that with these patients. It's got to be inspiring to them too, because you're in the same situation, you were in the same situation that they are, and to have you share that, I mean, we really appreciate you and your team's efforts of what you do to these young kids, because it's such an important part of rehabilitation. It's the life skills that you teach them, the talks. I hear that on the side, beside using what color and what kind of brush, you talk to them about life skills as well too.
We appreciate your funding too, and we appreciate your appreciation of art. We know that you also do the Latin American Museum of Art, and you're a big fundraiser there, and through all the theaters in LA, you're quite a contributor there.
Well, I believe in the arts. The arts have given me a lot, and sort of like you, it's the payback. But what message would you have for the young people watching out there? Maybe they're not in a wheelchair, maybe they have a disability of some sort, but what would you say to them if you could talk to them and they're all sitting out there listening to Robert Thome?
I say pick up the phone and call Rancho, yeah, and see what avenues they can go, and to fulfill their dreams. It may not be painting. It may be theater. It may be writing. It may be a lot of other things like athletics. We have a good athletic program here too. So I would just pick up the phone and call the main office.
So just to encourage, and just because you are what you are, and you have what you have, but don't let that stymie your creativity or desire for independent living or for a life. Would that describe it?
Yeah, this is a bridge to independence, this place. You know, you have a dream, and they consider it, and they say, okay, this is how we can do it. And I didn't believe it at first, but I'm sitting here, a taxpayer, married with children and grandchildren. I put a couple of them in college, and now one's in the Air Force, and I'm a rich man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're rich because we know you as well too. So we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today in this program, and your spirit goes on and on and on. You are a true mentor to a lot of kids here and a lot of patients here, and your success, and you and Kathy and the things that you do for the hospital, and we just really appreciate you. Julie and I appreciate your friendship, and want to wish you the best, and again, thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
Well,
God bless you, my friend.
Anytime.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Nowhere. Hi. Hi. Shine, come on and let it shine. Light me. Hi.
Thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. I want to thank our special guests today, Jorge Carrasco, Dr. Mindy Asen, and Robert Thome. Rancho Los Amigos is a world-class rehabilitation center right here in our own backyard in the city of Downey. Its success is a true testament to the hardworking doctors, nurses, and staff and patient who make miracles happen here each and every day. Rancho is consistently named one of the country's best rehabilitation hospitals. And with new facilities under construction, it will have the means and infrastructure needed to continue to perform these great miracles that happen here. So thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. We'll be back next month with an all-new show.